Javelins, freelancers, ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to AnthemCast. I am one of your hosts, Ogaz, and joining me on the other side of the world is a man whose biggest problem in the land of Tarsus is which headphones is he going to use this evening? Will it be his Sennheiser P550s or his Astro A40s? Which has more charge? We will find out in a moment. Mr. Binary Numb, how are you, sir? Fantastic. Right. I do have that. I do have that. Why is it a game show? But do tell us. Binary, no sound from you. We're getting no sound from you, according to the
that
chat.
might be why. Yeah, there we go. That would be better. I put your audio, not mine.
Does that mean they were hearing like double me?
No,
Was
no.
it like
No doubles.
Gaz and stereo sound?
No doubles, just me. What a tool. Sorry, I'm still getting used to this. I wonder if I could preset. I must be able to preset. Oh well. Anyway, yeah, as I can recommend, get an Astro A40 mixer. It's absolute genius. What a versatile bit of kit.
No one cares anymore. No one knows what the
cares
hell you're
at all.
talking about. At least, hey, like, if you're listening back on the podcast, you will know exactly. So that's the reason why you've got to watch it on all levels: Twitch, podcast.
That's right. We give you
YouTube.
nuggets of information on all different platforms.
It's a multimodal experience. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. That's awesome, man. So, how have you been? You've been busy this week,
Mate, I've been balls to the wall busy, like painfully. Yeah, literally painfully. So I apologise for not being in Discord. I apologise for not being streaming or anything. I've just been, work has literally taken my soul for the last week, 2 weeks. But no, I'm happy. I'm good. Hopefully, I'm going to Prague this week. I'm going to go shoot some AKs, maybe some handguns, get drunk, and
start a YouTube channel.
Start a YouTube channel. Yes. So it's quite funny actually. So a friend of mine, actually, I wonder if I could find it, sent me this hilarious picture of basically what my trip to. Have you ever seen the film War Dogs?
Yes.
So apparently, this is me going to reenact. So
Right.
the other guy I'm going with, he looks like the other guy, and I apparently look like him. So yeah, it's going to be quite hilarious. But it's for work purposes, so it's a free work drunken trip. So yeah, it'll be very good.
And if you have no visual, that was the worst podcast experience of all time.
Yeah. Or go watch Watch Dogs. Yeah. Not Watch Dogs. Go watch War Dogs. Yeah, very good. Anyway.
Awesome.
How are you, mate? What have you been up to? I see you have a nice purple shirt there.
Yes, I thought I'd go a bit colourful this evening.
Like
Why
it.
not?
It's very
Little
nice.
bit of purple.
You're
I
matching
have
my LEDs.
your LEDs. That's right. I forgot about them. How could I forget? They're right there looking at me. Good choice. Good choice. I had a game. I had a version of real life gaming today. I had a puzzle. I had a gaming puzzle to solve. Fantastic. I was at we're building at the moment, building a house, and I was our builder had placed a key to a storeroom that we've got there, and he'd put it inside this lock that has a combination lock on it, right? Anyway, my wife says, "Oh, we need to go. I've got to go access some stuff in that storage area because for a few reasons." So I go there and I go, "Okay, what's the password before I go?" And she said, "Oh, it's Doug. Like his name's Doug, Doug." And I'm like, "Okay, so it's an alphanumeric, fair enough." So of course I rock up. I go there. I go to the pad, and it's all numbers. And I'm like, My brain hurts. So I messaged her, tried to call her, nothing. She was busy. So I'm like, what am I gonna do? So I'm like, Doug, well, how would you spell Doug with like numbers, right? So I'm like,
Isn't it like 3, 4?
what's D? 3, 1. I don't know. O's gonna be 0. G will be 9. So I'm trying to like create Doug with numbers, and it didn't work. And then I called again and she wasn't available. So I'm like, so I literally went first digit 0 and then just started randomly grinding the remaining cogs on the. And I'm so grinding these cogs, hitting the switch, grinding the cogs, hit the switch, and I'm going through each number. And I literally spent probably 15, 20 minutes trying to hack this.
Oh my god!
Of course, it didn't work because what's the combination? What's that, like 10,000 possible combinations from 4 numbers?
Yes. Yeah, too many.
So it wasn't going to happen. And then, of course, my wife sent this number 3246 or something, and I'm like, where did that come from? And if you look at your phone, as in the numerics on your phone keypad,
yeah,
3 DOUG is like 3 4, and I'm like, no way! I felt like I was playing an adventure game all over again, like I was a kid, playing a LucasArts puzzle game.
Oh my god!
And but she was like, she was the codex, like she was my cipher.
Yeah.
She was my cipher, telling me how to crack the code.
That's hilarious.
So yeah, that was how I spent my Sunday. It's fantastic, trying to hack a lock.
Oh fuck, that's so funny.
NJX just called out in the chat. So he just had some throwbacks to Elder Scrolls. Yes, or like Thief or Dishonored.
Oh,
thinking about all those lock-picking games. Anyway, where have you been? Like Anthem, man, Anthem. We've had a week off since week down since PAX. There's been some conversations in Twitter. There's been some conversations in Discord. There's been some conversations on Reddit. So we certainly got stuff to talk about, interesting things to talk about, some silly things to talk about. And the great debate between NJX and Gaz goes on in the Discord. Of course, we'll be talking about the Scar conversation. What is the makeup of Scar? Who is the Scar? Where is the Scar? What is the Scar? Why is the Scar? Later on this evening.
What are they?
We've got to stick around for that one. But before we get there, Mr. Hudson, Mr. Hudson has celebrated something very special.
He has. That he's now figured out that he's probably unemployable and completely institutionalized in one business.
Of course, it's Casey Hudson's 20th. He just tweeted out I think the last 24 hours. And the tweet was very kind of just innocent. It was like, oh, I just noticed I've been around here for 20 years. Do you think he was sitting there going, no one remembers?
I do, actually.
So I'm going to tweet.
Sounds like they've got a terrible HR department. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they clearly have no golden watch or plaque or anything like that for the day. I wonder if you get any bonuses. So I got, for my 5th year, I got an extra 2 weeks holiday.
Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah. So I ended up having. So I got 7 weeks of holiday in 1 year.
I think I hit 5 years at a company. I think I got a pen.
Oh, was it a Bic?
I mean, it was a fancy pen, but it was still a pen. But yeah, so Hudson's been there so 20 years. Now that's like, if you reflect on that, Hudson was a technical artist on KOTOR. It's like that,
right.
like to think that he started, working as a technical artist. He at that stage worked his way up by Mass Effect to be the producer, or the lead. I think that lead director. I think for Mass Effect. And I remember that was probably the first. Did you ever see Casey Hudson? That was probably the first time I saw him on stage at E3 presenting the first Mass Effect.
Wow, yeah, that was a long time ago.
Babyface Casey.
Babyface, yeah. Looked like he was just beginning to shave.
Yeah, very much so. So that's interesting. And then, of course, now, but things we must remember that he actually left. If you recall,
He did.
he
He
actually
went to work
stepped
at
down. And,
Microsoft, didn't he?
yeah, yeah, he was looking after Hololens for about, I think it was a year and a half. I think he was looking after that for.
Man, I
Um,
so want HoloLens to be a thing. I don't understand why HoloLens isn't a thing yet.
why?
Well, it's been worked on for so long that it's still not a commercial product that you can purchase and use, right?
Mm.
It's weird how Microsoft they're playing this really long game with the whole virtual AR. They're
Would you see that having a use in Anthem? That
augmented reality? Not in third person. No,
not really. I
no,
mean,
no.
it had some good applications with the RTS genre.
Mm.
I think it was Halo Wars. I think they had a demo for, if I recall, with the HoloLens, which was pretty cool. But I mean, unless you've got a chance to scale out and pull back, which is pretty unlikely from what we've seen, I don't see why they would do that.
No, I don't. I don't think so. But it would be
Mm,
nice. It would be
mm,
nice to see the Hololens actually become something, but
mm.
nothing yet. So
Yeah, more industrial applications.
yeah,
But it's exciting. And so then, of course, he left. They came back, and it's kind of like a re. It would have been. I wonder if it was like a homecoming for him, wouldn't it? Be like a reuniting with the team that he was with for so long. There must have been that. I mean, that opportunity. I think it was when the GM. I think it was Aaron. Is it Aaron? I've gone blank. Who's the
Aaron.
GM of Bioware?
What's his name? Aaron.
Oh, I forget now.
I
How do I
forgot his
forget
last
that?
name.
Yeah.
Aaron
But anyway,
Flynn. Aaron
Aaron
Flynn.
Flynn, thanks. Yeah, Aaron Flynn, of course, was the GM, and he stepped down. So I think that might have been a good opportunity. Maybe Casey was looking for bigger roles and bigger opportunities. Went abroad
Yeah,
to
yeah,
Microsoft, and then of course, when that GM role opened up, they must have just picked up the phone and said, "Case, dude,
yeah. Your bed's still
if we got
warm.
a if we got a deal for you." But anyway, so it's very exciting. It should be a very monumental occasion, I think, for Anthem fans because, as I said, Casey at the helm as a technical artist with KOTOR, the helm of Mass Effect, and of course now general manager with BioWare means that the adventures that await for you in Anthem are in very, very good hands. And of course, if you haven't jumped on Twitter already, please do so and wish him all the best to his tweet. And make sure you like our. What did we say? We said. Just want to relay you a message. Oh, we put a picture of a Mass Effect relay.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
thought it was
yeah.
pretty funny. Sorry, it was a
No,
dad joke, but it was good. It was
and
a good dad
it
joke.
must be good for him too because he was around for the inception of Anthem, right? So, and then he's just come back to it, and everything's a fully fledged game, right? He's coming back into like the last mile of the development, so it must have been a surreal experience to see what was effectively a bunch of pictures on wallboards and storylines and stuff like that, and post-its on walls, and then coming back sort of 4 or 5 years later and seeing a game. Yeah, that must have been a surreal experience for him.
That's a good point. Yeah, because it's a massive gap. It's I think it was about 2 year gap of development that he would have been away for.
Yep.
Anyway, anyway. Lots of funny stuff happening, of course, on the Twitters and, of course, on the Anthem website. So if you haven't been doing so since PAX, a lot of you would be aware, at least the guys that are sort of following it closely, that BioWare dropped some information on the Anthem pages at PAX and teased little pieces of information on that website, which might be of interest to us. In the Discord, some of us have been talking about it, but on the Reddit, of course, as well. But I wanted to explore some of those things a little bit, and an allusion to that, I guess, when we were looking at Mark Darrah's Twitter and Mike Gamble's Twitter, is a conversation that they had about Storm, and I quite enjoyed this. It was Mark Darrah's pet name for Storm is HoverBoy.
That's right. Yeah.
And he was quick to correct. It was actually an interview. I believe it was. I think Alan. I think you might have posted Alan Sinner, who's watching. He's watching right now. I think Alan posted a link to I think it's MMORPG.com. I think it was. Who did a quick interview with Mark and Mike post-pax. And it's funny. There's a couple of interviews floating around that actually gave us a little bit more detail than we actually explored from the panel. And one of those, of course, was the conversation between the two. Mike was calling it FloatyBoy.
And Mark was boat face.
Floating with boat face. Mark was quick to correct him with his HoverBoy stance. So there clearly is a riff in the BioWare community, guys, in the BioWare team, I should say, between FloatyBoy and HoverBoy. Which will prevail, we will find out, I suspect, in the coming weeks and months.
Yep.
But they also talked about, of course, this article that they posted, that the EA posted, gave some interesting details about Faye and Owen. So if you recall, of course, Faye and Owen were our ciphers on board the Strider that we witnessed in all the trailers to this point. Yep. And you might remember that the detail presented in the panel was that these two were from different schools of thought. And the insinuation was that Owen was the community school boy, and Faye was the Harvard. And in particular, there's a reference there where it mentions in the Anthem website that her personal relationships have suffered, and she carries more than a few secrets. What do you think of this binary? Are you intrigued by Faye all of a sudden?
I am intrigued. I'd like to know what those few secrets are. Yeah, so that's a pretty cool piece of little nugget for setting up what her character arc might be. She's obviously may have maybe a little bit of a jaded past. You never know. But I'm hoping that you'll be able to dive into that once you start getting into that more character development, single player past bit back at Tarsus. That could be pretty cool.
I wonder if, do you think maybe there's, because it mentions specifically that she has this really unique fascination with the Anthem of Creation. Could she be a problem on this journey? Could she cause, some grief on this journey? Might she make decisions or actions that jeopardize our journey in her interests of the Anthem?
She could do. I think it depends what her real desire for the Anthem creation is. I can definitely tell you right now, she's going to make us go and do some work for her in some quests. Yes. So, do
you think she'll make us pick some locks with the combination DOUG?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and she'll make us go and collect a load of stuff for her research. Yeah, I can picture it right now.
Yeah. But I want that personal relationship suffered, and she carries more than a few secrets. Maybe is there relationships that she's had with, whether they be personal or just friendships, whatever. It doesn't really matter. But some relations with Dominion or people from other factions, or could this be? Oh, this is really intriguing me. Maybe I'm just thinking of this is nothing at all, but I don't know.
No.
That line.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you there. It's interesting that they said her personal relationships have suffered. So maybe she's had a family and she's like given up on her family after they get all sorts, loads of stuff.
It could be like, there's not really any secrets at all. But this is what I like about these articles. So I said again, if you haven't checked those out, jump onto the Anthem main page and have a read. There's about 6 articles, some about the individual javelins, some about the factions, and at the end of each one there is often just a little nugget of gold that you see at the end, which is makes me a little bit intrigued by it all. Of course, the other conversation that's been sparked from the pages here is about the Scar, and of course the Scar in particular. We've talked before about their makeup. In the article, it mentions that the Scar are insect-like creatures, which is nothing new. We had that inclination, and we've had conversations from the BioWare team and whatnot. But there's a lot of curiosity about what is their makeup, what goes into the makeup, and how does that sit with them. I mean, have you actually looked at the Scars anything other than cannon fodder to this point? Like, is it really occurred to you that there's something more to them, or?
No, I haven't. It's same as when we first saw, when we got a bit more of that video stuff from E3, right, where we got to see a little bit more inside the Scar dens. There was that discussion about whether they were actually human and they were just wearing different armor. But I think we always took the stance that they were way too insect-like in their movement, and that they were always going to be some type of creature. I think the question is, with the Scar, really, is what form do they actually play in the overarch of Anthem? Because yeah, they're definitely cannon fodder, right? They're definitely they're going to be the ads that you're going to want to kill off pretty quickly, and probably be overwhelming or pretty annoying as well pretty quickly if you don't keep them under control. I suppose it'll be interesting to see whether they're controllable, so whether Dominion or anyone else is actually playing around with them, right, and using them. Because I can pretty much see that they're going to be quite easily exploitable, right? They're being that they're insect in kind, or there's some manifestation from the Anthem creation that's warped, you know, ants into these things, right? It'll be interesting. Yeah, it'll be interesting as it divulges, right? Because they clearly have some level of intelligence to be to be the type of creatures that they are, but it's how influential they are in the universe will be quite interesting.
It's good you mentioned that. I never really thought of that, but it's like, could they be an army to be harnessed? And imagine the potency of having swarms of Scar at your disposal, at your very whim. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. They could. Yeah, it could be just things for you to shoot at. But I think that they've made a prominent mark enough on them that they are going to cause us some trouble. It's just about how they're going to cause us some trouble, right? Because they seem to appear on everything, right? Your strongholds, they seem to be there as fodder. When you are going around and shooting the, was it the Queen of the Swarm, right? They were in there again. We haven't. I don't think we've not seen a video where we haven't seen Scar involved in some way. So, yeah, I would like to understand them definitely way more. Are they, some type of vermin, right? Yeah, it's interesting.
I suppose they could be coerced quite easily. I suspect if they're so driven for the Anthem creation, then people like the Dominion, for example, could probably very easily manipulate their requirements of them.
Yeah, let me see if I can find an image.
Yeah. Now the driver of this conversation, of course, was with our good friend NJEX on the Discord. And of course, if you haven't joined the Discord, you can check that out at discord.anthemuniverse.com. And NJEX raised a good point, and he actually was looking at the video, in particular the trailer from that was launched at PAX last week. And he says here, so I'd like to point something out. I've got to use the NJEX voice here. So, dear sir, I would like to point something out. In the new footage we were shown, if you pause it while they show the dialogue windows, the one on the Scar, the text reads that the Scar work together to make arms and legs. So when they're on screen, it says the Scar work together to make arms and legs. So NJEX is implying from that the suits might be largely mechanical, and the Scar are much smaller. So it's almost like the Scar that we're seeing is actually an exosuit of its own kind, and there's a smaller organism inside of it.
That could make sense. I've actually thrown an image up of the Scar now, so
yeah,
so up on stream, so I hope people can still see what. But they are, yeah, they're interesting because they seem to be very mechanical as well, right? You can tell from their legs that they are wearing some type of but some type of mechanical suit over the top. Yeah. They're you can get like Men in Black, like where it's actually just a little alien in the head.
Well, NJEX is sort of talking about that like an evolution. So he's implying that there's been they've evolved, but perhaps intentionally or maybe even more rapidly, as sort of like a humanoid version of the insect. But I mean, when we were talking about it earlier today, I raised the question because I think there's been some conversations about how the Scar could be a constitution of other things. And I'm starting to think my theory right now is there's it's a combination of organisms, a symbiotic, in nature we often talk about symbiotic reality with certain species and certain animals in the kingdom that have a very symbiotic existence. And this actually probably even goes one step further than that, because the symbiotic existence is a unity where they combine together and they run a machine, in this case an exosuit, in order to fulfill a requirement. I know that sounds kind of far-fetched and crazy, but
no, I like that.
To hell with it. It's BioWare, right? Like, yeah. I mean, come on.
No, absolutely.
But and there was some really interesting stuff there. And then some of the guys sort of weighed in on that. Silver, I think Silver mentioned. Actually, he made a good point. Silver actually asked, "I wonder if they have a temple, and does that mean that they could be similar to the Locust?" So he actually used a comparison to Gears of War.
Well, we know that they do have like some type of hives or or home areas, because we got to see some walking through when it was, what was it? I can't remember what gameplay trailer it was, but we saw broken or dead javelin suits that were hoisted up on crucifixes and stuff like that, didn't we? And then there was, definitely there is some type of. Well, I'm excited to explore what they are, right? I'm definitely excited.
Yeah, I've never been so intrigued by what I would probably have seen as cannon fodder originally. Like, it's not like, I love Halo, but I never really got into the lore of who the grunts were and really cared about it. All I cared was that they were really fun to melee.
Absolutely.
And really fun to shotgun. But this is a different beast, and because BioWare is driving it, as I say, we don't know who's to say what right now at this stage with the Scar. So plenty of ideas, plenty of theories, and I'm sure many of us in the Discord, if you haven't joined us, as I said, jump in and have a chat, because there's lots of fun conversations just like this going on right now. Now, other things that we saw from the website. Binary, we were talking before about this, the Dominion. Now, did you see the additional details that they brought forward in that article from Anthem?
No, you've just completely sandbagged me. No, I didn't read that.
There's the one we were talking about 20 minutes ago. We were talking about the leader of the Dominion.
Oh, yes. What was his name? It was the Monitor.
Yeah. So,
which is an odd name.
Yeah.
Which is an odd name on its own.
It's a very kind of AI-like name for me. Like when I say the Monitor, that it's superimposing, it's artificial, it's autocratic, it's observational, it's dictatorial. You know what I mean? It's all these. There's a monitor. Like, this person is the one thing that it all drives back to. So I don't know what that means. Is he a machine? Is it a machine? Is it a person? What is the Dominion?
Well, it's an interesting name, right? Because it's also, the Monitor is also, you could bring that back into some type of audio conversation as well, right? When you're listening to music, right? You have the monitor turned on to listen back to the audio yourself as well as other people, or when you're talking. Right? I can turn the monitor on and I can listen to myself while I'm talking to you. So it's an interesting name choice. Given of what we know about other characters in the game.
And they're from the north. If you didn't know that, the Dominion are from the north. Of course, all the bad people are from...
Always from the north. Yeah, it's fun,
north.
Isn't it?
North of the wall.
So exactly the same in the UK, right? If you're above London, you're in the north. That's it.
Oh, wow. I'm not going to go there. And of course, the second comment that was on the website that was on there's a general article, like, things we took away from PAX, was this last sentence: the challenges you'll face in the world of Anthem will only get greater and more dangerous. How will you choose to face the worst threats that Mirrus has to throw at you? And I'm going to shout out to the chat for a moment if you've come across anything else about Mirrus, because we were talking about this in the Discord the other day. I don't have much on that other than that reference right now. Have you come across that at all, Binary, in the last few days?
Not come across anything more exploratory than that.
Who is Mirrus? what is Mirrus. And it's the worst threat. So is the implicate is Mirrus a shaper?
Or are they part of some? Or is part of some other faction? Yeah, don't know. Not a Scooby.
But just the fact that the implication is that this one person is gonna, we're gonna face the worst threats from this individual. It seems something more power encompassing than, this is not the monitor of the minion. This is not an agent. This is not a freelancer. This is not a sentinel.
Or maybe it is a shape. Maybe as we progress through the story, we come across a shaper that has stayed behind, right?
Right.
Or has left behind. Maybe you're right along that route.
Does that imply then that the shapers have a physical form? Like, is there more than? Are they polyeth? What is it? Is there multiple gods here?
I'm going to assume that they do have some type of physical. They are physical in the same realm we are. Otherwise, they wouldn't require physical tools to achieve what they wanted to achieve. Right.
Well, maybe that's why if they're ethereal, they have machines to do it for them.
Maybe.
But yeah, I think you're right. You're implying that at one point, the shapers walked the land. Is that what you're getting at right now? Do you think?
And I think one maybe stayed behind. Maybe that's what it is. I think we have to meet them at some point, right? I wonder if that is one. I don't know.
NJX says no. They're just lazy. Machines make things easier. Yes, the shapers were lazy, definitely. Well, one thing we know is they're certainly bored. They wanted to play with this world, and they wanted to cause a bit of chaos.
And they gave up.
And they gave up. Yeah, it got too difficult. How surprising! I mean, imagine you create a world and you put, you have humans on it. You put humans on it, and then they start doing bad stuff, and you go, you know what? I'm jack of this. I could empathize with that. Like, if I was a shaper in 2018, I'd be like, yeah, you know what, you guys just go kill yourselves and war and all the evil and wicked things you do to each other. I'm out.
Yeah, absolutely.
But anyway, so it's interesting. Nothing came out in the chat from that. Was there machines equals tools? Alan Sinner raises a good point. There is that statue thing. There's a statue head, if you recall, that we looked at in the PAX West. In that trailer, and it's funny. Did you think that head was a shaper?
It could have been. It was humanoid, wasn't it? It wasn't. It was definitely humanoid, and it was carved into a mountain. But we're only assuming at this point.
We don't know. We just saw a jaw, wasn't it? It was like a lower jaw.
Jaw, yeah.
Well, you thought it was Mark Gamble's jaw.
I did think it was Mark Gamble's jaw. Yeah.
It was well chiseled. Actually, now I remember now. Someone reminded me during the read. The last cast we were talking, and I said, "Oh, it looks like a Mass Effect character." I couldn't remember it, and of course, it was Yavik, the alien species in Mass Effect 3, who actually had a lot of. I remember he had a bit of interesting things going on around him, if I recall. I think he was bundled in with a pre-order or something, if I recall. Bit of controversy. Nothing like a bit of character controversy in Mass Effect, but anyway, I'll move on from that. But yeah, I don't think we've got an answer for Mirrus. I think this is a question that remains, and let's keep a tab on it. If something comes up, let's come back to it. And a couple other things that have been occurring in the community. Of course, there was a reference in the Interceptor profile on the Anthem website. So we've been talking about these references on the website. One of them was a profile of Interceptor, and one would argue probably the greatest piece of information we've yet got about Interceptor in terms of detail. It wasn't groundbreaking, but it just confirmed a few things about speed and etc. But one thing it does make reference to is that the Corvus. So if you remember, do you remember the Corvus were in the factions that we talked about last week?
Yes, I think.
So the Corvus were. They were the curious, the how should we put it? The spies, the intelligence, the science, the data collectors.
That's right. Is that what Matthias is part of?
Yeah.
Is it Matthias or is it Yarrow?
I can't remember. I can't blank on that one. But there's a curiosity there about what they're up to and what's happening. That reference is kind of important because it does link Interceptor in some ways to Corvus. And of course, our good friend Anthem Insider recently drew that link as well on Twitter when he drew some comparisons to the symbol between the Interceptor and the Corvus. In fact, the Interceptor symbol on his chest is absolutely the same as the symbol that the Corvus have on their shoulders.
That's right, it was Yarrow. My mistake. So Yarrow, the guy that we got the picture of. So he's a retired freelancer. So maybe he was an Interceptor.
Yarrow was the beard. Yeah, he was the bearded. That's right. Yeah. The bearded freelancer. But so that interesting piece of information. It's obvious because it had already been on the website, but it was a good pick that it was noticed that there is those two symbols, and then of course the V that we see on the freelancer helmet, the V that we see on the freelancer shoulder pads, all present on the Pharaoh's outfit. If you look at his shoulder pad, you'll see the V as well. I mean, that's not surprising. Obviously, the Javelin does have that connection. It was interesting, and there was one point that actually Mike Gamble mentioned in the PAX West panel that I think we might have missed out on. And I was re-listening, actually just watching it 2 days ago, and he says this phrase, and he says, "The Interceptor will sneak around the back and go all ninja."
Yes, I said that last week. Yeah, he could.
I'd forgotten that. I'd forgotten that phrase, but I was like, yes, because we've been calling Inti Ninja for so long. And if you look at the article about Ninja on the BioWare website, on the EA website, you can see the detail there. They talk about close quarters. They talk about sharp melee weapons. So there is definitely, whether it's melee centric, I don't think so. There may be definitely, obviously, other weapons that the Inti will use. But that appears to be a big part of it. I think the situation they described was old mate Colossus taking the hits whilst Inti sneaks around the back and goes all ninja.
That's right, yeah. The words ninja was definitely used.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah. And Alan has confirmed this. Right? Yeah, Alan in the chat just mentioned that the Corvus are basically the CIA. And actually, that was another joke that Mike dropped in that panel, is that he mentioned the Corvus have a tendency to get kidnapped or get lost. And I think that's a gentle nudge to expect a lot of find Corvus people missions.
Yeah, absolutely.
So expect a Corvus collectathon. Corvus collectathon mission, one of many.
Yeah. Collect the thing, bring back the thing, collect the thing, bring back the thing.
Put it in the thing. Yeah. You got to do it 3 times though, right?
Yeah,
Not once. It's the magic 3. Oh dear. Well, I think that was probably the bulk of the interesting things that I think we extracted from that website. And I think the things that people have been talking about. I suppose the only other thing that I noticed on Reddit that's sort of been a bit of a conversation piece in the last week is the confirmation that you are picking, your head choice when you pick your freelancer. So you're not, configuring multiple characteristics. You're just kind of picking your head. What are your thoughts to that? I mean, were you expecting more customization from Anthem?
Not really, because I think customization of my own face really is probably at the bottom of my important table. Purely because when you're actually out in Anthem, it's third person and you're in your Javelin suit, and then when you're back in Tarsus, you're first person. So you don't really have any opportunity to see your own face.
I think that was BioWare's reaction too. So they're like, you're in a Javelin, and when you're in Tarsus, you're in first person. when are you going to see your face?
Yeah, unless they've got like reflective puddles and mirrors all over the place in Fort Tarsis, I don't think you're gonna never really gonna have an opportunity to see your own face, or even when you're grouped up with other people, because Tarsis is first person and it's single player, and out in the wilds you're in a suit. So
well, it brought back some memories,
maybe, but
that's true. But even cutscenes, I mean, they'll all be in Tarsus, so they'll be first person.
Yeah. So
there won't be any cutscenes out in the wild. Well, no, there will be cutscenes out in the wild, but they'll be third person because you'll be in your javelin.
Yeah, it's just like how far do you go, right? Like, no, like you can customize your javelin suit. That's enough for me. It's not Conan with Exiles, right, where you can customize your dick size. And, how far do you want to go? You know.
Yes, it's always very realistic when you're playing. It's a realistic representation when you're playing Conan.
Absolutely, it's always a realistic.
Well, for us, yeah, right, yeah. But no, it's a good point. It's a good point, and I guess to what end? This made me think a lot. Do you remember Division? Remember when Division dropped that first day? Remember I got it on early access, and it dropped, and the first day on Twitter there was a meltdown because it was like, okay, there's like 9 faces I can pick, and about 3 sets of hair, and about 5,000 tattoos.
Yeah.
And it was like, Ubi, thanks for the tattoos. Where's my character?
Yeah,
and that's a game where you see it. You see the character.
Yeah, that's very true. Adam Sinner says, well, yeah, if you had ray tracing, but I don't think many people are going to have an RTX by the time Anthem comes out. And I don't even know if Anthem is even supported ray tracing. It'll be interesting to know whether they do support ray tracing with the RTXs coming out next year. Because I'm playing this Anthem on PC, so just talking about reflections and stuff like that, it'll be pretty interesting actually to see if Anthem will support ray tracing. But
I just noticed that cat face in the Twitch. What's the puddle sliders customization sliders confirmed? And of course, if you don't know what that's about, Puddlegate, of course, which is in reference to the outcry from Spider-Man on PlayStation 4. Which, what did they do? They had a puddle in the trailer, and that very specific puddle was not in the final game.
Yes, but that could be down to a number of reasons, though, right? Like, we know, right, that when the same with Anthem, right, is all the gameplay we've seen are 2 1080s in SLI on PC rigs, right? So, people with a 970 or a 1060 or a 1080 still aren't going to be able to achieve the graphics that we saw in games. So people are going to probably cry about a graphical downgrade when it comes to us actually getting it. But I think we just have to remember that, most of the time, even though it's a PS console game, Spider-Man was, none of that gameplay was recorded on console. That was all PC. So it's... I wouldn't. It's just madness. It's a puddle.
No fuss.
It's a puddle.
No, as NJX points out, puddle lives matter.
Yes, especially in the summer when they evaporate. Yeah.
That's a new hashtag. Hashtag puddle lives matter. I can't wait for that one to take off. But that's probably the most controversy that I think that I've seen on Reddit this week. There was something else. What was the other question? I think it escapes me now. I didn't write it down. No, I'll come back to it later. But there was something similar of similar nature that people were asking obscure questions about that you just sort of you look at it and you got to sort of, I guess, smile and shrug it off.
Yeah.
But anyway, jumping over to the one and only segment, that very special segment, that weekly segment, which is important because, every YouTuber in the world must cover it because it is all the information we have. And of course, we're talking about Darrah's Diaries.
Darrah's Diaries.
We're going to have some music for that, don't we?
We do need to get some music for that, yeah.
What would Mark Darrah's Diaries music look like? I don't know. Would it like computer sounds, like Commodore 64 bit tunes?
Maybe, or a bit of Duran Duran.
Oh, Duran Duran, yeah, that'll work. I'm just thinking, what song would you pick?
I don't know. He does look like a bit of a Duran Duran listener, I think he could. What song though? Tell you what we're going to do is we'll surprise you next week with different versions, and you can all vote.
What do you drink? Wouldn't he be more like? I'm thinking like. He'd be a Metallica guy. He'd be Metallica, surely.
Yeah, maybe. Or some Swedish metal, maybe.
Swedish metal. Roxette. He'd be Roxette.
Oh. I think we just lost Gaz. Don't know where he went. Rip.
And I disappeared.
You did.
And I'm back.
You
good.
Backed on the. You pressed backward on the window, didn't you?
Dude, I got a bit carried away with my browser here, playing clicky games. Speaking of clicky games, it's important to go back to Tara's Diaries because that's what this segment was about. It took us a bit to get there, but importantly, there will be content more frequently than every 6 months. How does that make you feel, sir?
Content drop more frequently than every 6 months. I don't know quite what he means by that. So we're going to get a content drop every 5 months and 3 weeks?
Well, he didn't say that specifically, I should clarify. So the question raised to him was, after launch, how will content be added? I'm just wondering if there is going to be 6-month content droughts. And
he does, yeah, no, to be fair, he says we plan content... Oh, excuse me. A lot more... Excuse me.
Jesus. Live television folks.
We plan content a lot more frequently than that. More deal details later. So hopefully what that really means is they got us a follow.
I'm crying.
So I'm hoping that a content drop, what that content is, whether it's gameplay or whether it's story arc or something, which is great. I mean, that's good news. It would need to be a lot more frequently than I would say we'd want some type of content drop or a change or something at least every 6 weeks.
And the question beckons then, what is a content drop in Anthem? I'm thinking it's going to look different because we know that BioWare, as they've said specifically many times, with the hosting of their games to their dedicated servers, will have that element of control in terms of the environment, weather, shape of storms, etc. That's going to raise some good conversations. That simplifies to a certain extent some of the things that they can tweak quickly and rapidly. Yeah,
and I think really we need to be honest, and actually we don't know what the game is yet. Right? Is it a Mass Effect where you just have a hell of a lot of content, but it's really a single player RPG, right? That doesn't have an end game, right? Or is it a full-blown looter shooter where everything is designed for end game, right? You're designed to get through the story, and then everything else comes after that. They've never really said that distinction, apart from the fact that it's a shared world, so you can have shared experiences. I think the amount of content that drops will be purely dependent on which type of game we get once you've completed the story. And I don't think it's going to be like the looter shooter we anticipate. I don't think it's not going to be a replacement to Division or Destiny or anything like that. I think we're going to get story updates the same as you would like the Mass Effect stuff, but that's it. I don't think at this moment in time, I don't think we're going to get an end game that people are expecting.
Yeah, so that beckons the question around what Elder Game actually is, because they do talk about it, and they have emphasized the importance of it. I mean, they understand that the hardcore gamer, for lack of a better term, is going to be the one that's going to finish that content really quickly. And we've seen that as a challenge time and time again with these game types, knowing that the noise surrounds those players. You know, the average player who's going to be playing Anthem is not going to burn through that content to the excess that one would expect.
Yeah.
But the noise on Twitter and the noise on Twitch will come from the players that do. And then all of a sudden, you've got Kotaku and IGN and the big media outlets reporting on, oh, there's a content drought and the game's too easy to finish or too quick to finish.
Yeah.
But it's a vicious cycle. It is part of the reality, though. BioWare is going to have to prep for that. That is something that's going to come regardless of the amount of content they drop at launch.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I suspect that the type of crowd that's coming into this game, the additions of the BioWare folk, hopefully will be enough buffer that other games such as Destiny and Division really haven't had the opportunity. Do you know what I mean? Like those gamers, there's a lot of gamers out there that aren't going to be those guys rushing through the content. They want to explore the BioWare story.
Yeah, they do. And a lot of people that are coming into Anthem now have probably, they've not played anything from Mass Effect, maybe Mass Effect Andromeda. All the games that have sort of made up. So Anthem's their first title they're probably ever going to play. So, it'll be interesting to see how it's delivered on that.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. And of course, while we're doing that, while we're traversing the land, it'll be important for you to know that there will be no bows and arrows.
Nope.
R.I.P. Anthem. Dead game is dead. I mean, sorry, what? Were you expecting bows and arrows?
No. No. Not yet. Anyway, I just got them in Destiny, so I don't need them in another game. And they're coming to the Division, so no, I don't need
bows and arrows in the Division. What, crossbows?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think.
I
swear
that's kind of weird.
How would that work
in the Dark Zone? Like,
anyway,
that would be. I'm suspecting OP territory right there, but or we could just play Horizon. Horizon had some pretty good bows and arrows. That was a great game. Oh, Horizon! Shout out for Horizon. I think I'm gonna go back. I never played that winter content they built. Might go back there. Looking at the chat. Oh, Njex, have you guys mentioned the Path of Glory yet? No, but I am intrigued. We haven't actually. No, we talked about it. I think before PAX. Could be wrong.
Crossbows in the Division. Sorry, not bows. Crossbows.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, you from a bow and arrow in the Division. Tom Clancy's bow and arrow.
No, it's crossbows.
Doesn't really. Yeah, that works better. Anyway, that was a good tweet from Mark. Another good tweet that was sent through, of course, was, will Anthem be fun? True story. Will Anthem be fun? And the answer...
Like that.
Oh, don't be a killjoy.
Yes.
These are great questions. The fact that Darrah answers them, though, is...
No, but then you get fucking stupid, you get absolute twats underneath that go, well, is this your unbiased opinion? Yeah, of course it's his unbiased opinion. He's just spent the last 5 years of his life making a game and advertising about it. Of course he's going to...
what is
the most biased opinion he'll ever ask for, right?
With questions of this ilk, I've noticed there's a tendency for them to turn into a bit of a GIF war between people.
Yeah.
Who's got the funnier GIF in the thread, basically, and that tends to win out. And there's confirmation. The reason I thought that was funny is because there was a tweet, I think, where Mike Gamble tweeted out that they were having dinner. So him and Mark were having dinner, and he was critiquing how Mark is constantly answering these tweets while they're having dinner. And then, of course, he came to the realization that he's actually tweeting about Mark tweeting at dinner, and realized he'd entered himself into a bit of a conundrum that he really couldn't walk out of easily. So that was kind of funny. But anyway, there is confirmation from both Mark and Mike that the game is fun, reassuring. Next on the chopping block, my friend, was the Storm. Binary, we were talking before about the Hover and Flight of Storm.
That's right. So for the Storm, the question was, will there be infinite flight or only infinite hover? And we got, thank you for the follow, Valhalla. And we basically got the answer, hover. So we're expecting now that we have infinite hover capabilities.
Mm.
So what that really means in terms of mechanics, I don't know. That opens up lots of questions. So if I don't have infinite flight, so I can fly and fly and fly, and then I'll, instead of falling out the sky, I'll just hover, or will I actually crash to the ground?
Well, that's what we're talking. Like, what does that look like? Is that is hover then a toggle? So as I was saying before, that if hover
Oh,
is in good old hogger,
yeah.
that's the Australian version of hover, by the way. How about we go for hoggers down here? Um, but no, but if hover's is it unlimited, then surely you're not going to have to actively engage something to do it. So it would just be a toggle. So you push A or whatever it is to engage that hover, and then the hover is indefinite until you toggle it off. To, I mean, what? Why would you go to the ground? Like revive someone? That'd be it, right?
Yeah, I suppose I see what you're saying. Like, why would it ever actually need to be on the ground? But then
like,
what I don't understand. Yeah, okay.
why would you give a character infinite hover if they were ever intended to be on the ground for any reason other than to revive someone?
But doesn't the storm have? Isn't it weaker when it's hovering than on the ground, or is it the other way around?
No, it's weak on the ground.
Okay.
Yeah. But NJX actually raised a good point in the chat while we were talking. He said it is. He said you can't cool down unless you hit the ground or water. So that's a good point. Yeah, fair enough. So if you can't cool down unless you hit the ground or water.
So
But that would be flight. But your hover's unlimited.
Yeah, but if you're hovering, you're stationary, though, aren't you? There's no movement in hover.
True. So to rebuild your flight, though, you would need to then, either hit ground or regenerate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. See that question just it opens up more.
Yes. More to come, no doubt. And remember we thought, pre-PAX, we thought we'd hear more about these two, Storm and Interceptor, and we really didn't. I mean, I love it. I'm like, we really didn't, and you're like, we got fuck all.
We did.
This is why we're two peas in a pod, my friend. The next one there, as we start to, we'll finish this. We're going to wrap this up very shortly. Animals come with a ranged attack. So animals do attack at range. Is the confirmation from a tweet from Mark. Are you happy to engage animals at distance? I think I am.
Some of those, yeah. Some of those need to be attacked at range. I wouldn't want to go near some of them.
No. No, I don't.
But that's cool.
I don't.
There's going to be some diversity then into play styles, right? So whether you're hung back and trying to snipe, or whether you're up front, then you know that you're going to be engaging with them in some level. So that's pretty good.
That's true, and I think it's interesting when you think about it. But they're their own enemy type. We say who's the factions and who's the enemies and yada yada yada. The Dominion and the Scar, the Outlaws, but we often forget that the beasts of the wild are like the unpredictable, unbiased, unallied, unfactioned enemy. And I love that idea that you could be in the middle of battle and then just something rocks up. And I hope that can happen.
Yes.
Because imagine that, like, you would just be on your back foot. You'd be like, oh, shit.
Yeah, absolutely. Agreed with you. Yeah.
Anyway, what else we got? Now, this is a good point. There was a quote there. It was a question to Mark about Tarsus, and the comparisons were made to Dragon Age in terms of the Skyhold. If you recall, Dragon Age Inquisition, you could upgrade the visual aesthetic of the Stronghold in Dragon Age. And we have news about Tarsus.
Yeah, so for Tarsus will change, which we knew as you progress through the story and different missions you do. Things will happen and change within Tarsus. But they won't have decorations like Skyhold. Not at launch, anyway. So they might allow for it later down the line, or they might do events, right? Which would then obviously maybe put some banners and bunting up and stuff like that, or maybe a Christmas tree here and there for the festive season. Yeah, they could do stuff like that. But as far as actually changing and choosing the aesthetics for your TARDIS, they're not saying any of that is possible.
No, no. But do you think it would be? What would it look like? Would it be you complete a mission and is it? I wonder if they're talking about like repair, or they're talking about upgrade. Do you know what I mean? Like, is it a matter of you repairing damage that's happened to the fort, or is it you upgrading?
Well, yeah, I suppose it's a bit of a vague question, right? Because it's saying, can things be upgraded visually? So, you know, it's not saying features or additional stuff or becoming stronger within TARDIS, because TARDIS effectively isn't a mechanic that you defend or anything like that, right? It's not something you walk in and out of. So, and the only person that's going to see TARDIS is you. TARDIS is specific to you, so it's not like it's shared between other people. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. They might offer options, right?
That's a good point. You can't really show off your TARDIS. You know, it's like, check it out. Look what I got. Yeah, it's for your eyes only. But anyway, some interesting conversations about that. I don't think it means too much at the moment, but I'm sure we'll find out more what that looks like, whether it's a new tower or maybe it's something physical. Maybe it's just the general vibe and the culture. You know, as you do more missions, there's an improvement on the culture and an improvement on the interactions, maybe positivity in the city. Citizens become more loyal or more responsive.
Yeah.
Oh, good. And I think I'm probably going to wrap it there. There was only one more tweet before we finish up. And it was, what was that last one? Oh, there you go. Statues. Are you interested in statues for Anthem?
Mate, I want statues. Have you seen behind me?
I heard.
Want statues. I want statues. Give them to me. I heard about you. Go on.
I heard about your fascination.
I love statues. I still have more that I still have boxed. I haven't unboxed them yet.
But they're not confirmed. But Mark did imply that he's sure the biz sales guys will be very keen at Bioware to adopt something. Nothing confirmed. But I think I agree with you. I will most definitely buy an Inti statue. I would give my right hand for an Inti statue right now and would gladly put it behind me.
I want a nice long plinth with the 4 javelins in different positions. They can go right on my shelf. Amazing.
Yeah. All good. And look, that's all I have for now. So I think we're going to wrap this puppy up. And where can we reach Anthem Universe?
Anthem Universe can be reached at anthemuniverse.com. You can join our Discord, which is discord.anthemuniverse.com. You can listen to our podcast. Thanks for joining on Twitch, obviously, and thanks for the guys who followed today. This will all be up on our YouTube channel, which is Anthem Universe, and you can actually find our Anthem podcast, which this is the audio that it will be, if you search any of the iTunes or anything like that for AnthemCast, one word. And I have been Binary Numb, so thank you.
Awesome. I am at OGAZ, that's at OH_GAZ, and as a collective, as you mentioned, of course, we are both crazy active at Anthem Universe on the Twitter sphere. Do jump in, as I lose my voice, do jump into the Discord, check out the lore channel in particular, lots of great conversations happening. Of course, Moxie, Bad Badger in particular, our favorites in the channel tend to be talking a lot about their stories and posting their conversations. And of course, all the people in general, NJEX and Alum and Jude. There's a whole bunch of people. Raid has been busy. Lady Whipper, the Australian Riat has been in there a lot active. Of course, AR. There's just so many good names that have been really contributing to good conversations. So please join, have a chat, discord.anthemuniverse.com. I am Ogaz, as we mentioned, Binary Numb as well. And freelancers, we will see you next.
Over the wall.